Hey RJ here, and welcome to my new show where I show you how I cook my own personal recipes. I hope you like them. Now, over the years, I picked up so many recipes, and they are very easy to make, and I want to share that with you all. Now, for this first episode, I want to show you how to make one of my favorite meals ever. Homemade tamales. Now, for those of you who don't know, tamales is a Mexican dish that's made with masa or some sort of dough, usually corn-based. Within the masa, it's filled with meats, cheese, fruits, vegetables, and all sorts of stuff, whatever you want according to your taste. Now, in order to cook this, it needs to be wrapped in corn husk and steamed for a period of time. Now, tamales are not necessarily a meal, it's more like a snack food for different festivals like Christmas or New Year's Day or Independence Day. Now, as I said before, you can put whatever you want in it, but for this episode, we're going to concentrate on just putting pork and chicken. Now, I'm gonna warn you, it does take time to make these tamales, so it's about roughly 5 hours of cooking time. And depending on the size of the steamer that you use, you can make to 20 to 30 tamales at a time. So let's start by gathering our ingredients. First, we got the 5-pound pork roast butt. I said butt. About a pound of boneless chicken. It's easier this way because that way you don't have to worry about deboning the damn thing. Some corn oil, don't get vegetable oil, corn oil works better. Salt, black pepper, garlic powder, ground cumin, cumin seeds, chili powder, paprika, a bag of flour masa, and dried corn husks. Now you're gonna need the essentials to cook this stuff, so you're gonna need a medium-sized saucepan, a couple of these pots for boiling the meat, of course, and you can't have tamales without having the essential steamer pot. Now that we gathered everything, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I like to do is soak the dry corn husk in a pot of water, or you don't necessarily have to put it in a pot, you can put it in a sink, whichever you prefer. And then after I'm done, I put it off to the side and just let it soak for the next 2 hours. Now I cut up the meat so that way it'd be easier for me to rip them apart once they're finished boiling. You just place them in the pan, fill it with water, place the chicken on the stove, and then set the temperature to medium-high and let it boil for the next 2 hours. For the pork, it's pretty much the same thing as the chicken. Cut it up in pieces, put it in the pot, fill the pot with water, put it on the stove, set the temperature to medium-high, and let it boil for the next 2 hours. While the meat is boiling, it's the perfect time to make the masa. Now these bags come in at about 4 pounds, but for our uses we're only going to use 2 pounds of it. After pouring the flour in a large bowl, we can begin adding the spices to make our masa mix. Now add the following: 3 tablespoons of paprika, 3 tablespoons of salt, 3 tablespoons of chili powder, 3 tablespoons of garlic powder, and if you're tired of the number 3, I'll give you 1 tablespoon of cumin seeds. Now that the ingredients are added to the masa, using your hands, go ahead and mix the spices all together, that way it's evenly distributed in the mix. Once that's done, put the bowl off to the side and wait for your meat to boil. I also forgot to mention about the boiled meat. Continuously add water to the meat, you don't want the water to boil off. After about 2 hours of boiling, carefully take both meats out and put it in a bowl, and put the bowl off to the side and let it cool off for a little bit. Also put the chicken and pork broth off to the side so we can use it for the matzo mix. While the meat's cooling off, grab your bowl of masa mix and add 2 cups of corn oil. While mixing either by a utensil or your own hands, whichever you prefer, work in the chicken and pork broth a cup at a time. Continue on this process and keep mixing and stirring until you get it as thick as what the consistency of peanut butter would be like. After the masa is done, the meat should be cool enough for you to handle with your hands. Using your hands, go ahead and start shredding them into little pieces. After the meat had been boiled for 2 hours, the meat should just fall apart in your hands just like that. Now that the meat is completely all shredded, put it off to the side and let's go ahead and make the sauce. Place the saucepan on the stove and set it to warm. Now start placing your ingredients in the pan by adding a half a cup of corn oil, 6 tablespoons of chili powder, 3 tablespoons of garlic powder, 3 tablespoons of ground cumin, 1 tablespoon of pepper, and 2 tablespoons of salt. After the sauce is put together, add the meat into the pan and start mixing it really well to make sure that it's all evenly distributed with the spices and the sauce. Again, you can use your utensils or if you prefer your hands. Either way, it works. Now that the meat's done, it's time to put together the tamales. Now, to put the tamales together, you can have the layout any way you want, whatever's easier for you. Now, laying out the masa on the corn husk, I use a putty knife that I get from a general hardware store or Walmart. But you can use a butter knife or a spatula, whichever one you prefer. And putting the tamale together is pretty easy. You just lay out the masa on the corn husk, you put whatever amount of meat you want in the tamale itself, and then you wrap it up as such. I have a pan on the side so that way I can place them there and then work on the next one. Now, as I said before, depending on the size of your steamer, you can make about 20 to 30 servings at one go. Once you reach that certain amount of tamales that you wanted to make in the first place, start arranging the tamales upright in the steamer basket, that way you can get the best results out of them when you're cooking them. After you place the uncooked tamales in the steamer basket, place the basket in the steamer itself. Now, the optimal time to steam these would be 2 hours. But during that 2 hours, make sure that you have enough water in there, so constantly check, because if you make it dry out, it's just going to dry out tamales, and it's just going to be extra crispy, and not the good kind of crispy. After it's done, carefully take the tamales out, and take one of the tamales and open it up. Don't be afraid, just make sure that it looks good, that it's cooked and everything. Now, what you're checking for is to make sure that the dough is all the way cooked, a little bit flimsy, but not too soft, not like running soft. But if everything went right, these tamales are ready to serve. This smells good. I can't wait to show this off. Alright, boss, tamales are... Really?
It's been 5 hours, man, and we're hungry.
Well, at least I can sell these. But if you guys like what you saw here and you want to see more, let me know in the comments below. But until then, I'll see you later. Oh, you put that pizza together.
From Cotton Eye Joe.
Peanut butter disaster.